choices, Clark. Your actions. That's what makes you who you are. I'll tell you something, son. I couldn't be more proud of you.
Welcome to an exclusive episode of Popped made for you, our Patreon subscribers. Joining me today is the new co-host, Eric. We just finished recording our episode on Gattaca. Say hi, Eric.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Short, sweet, to the point. Let's see. We craft these episodes as a way of saying thank you to those who choose to support us monetarily. Today's topic is the 2025 James Gunn hit Superman. And I'm excited to get talking about it. But before I do that, I've put some links in the promotion area of our Patreon. I'm still trying to figure out how to make that work. I would like you guys to all be able to claim your gifts for your tier. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have to watch some tutorials and figure out what I need to do to make it possible for you to get the gifts that you signed up and were supposed to be given to you. I thought they were supposed to just be mailed to you. Apparently, I've got to do something to make it happen. Patreon hasn't been very friendly in that regard for me to just intuitively do it. So give me some time. I'm trying to get it done. I'll try to get it done within the next 2 weeks so you can get what's coming to you. Speaking of what's coming to you, this is one of those things. We love doing these, and we like to talk about newer films and avoid spoilers because obviously we're talking about newer films. Something like Gattaca, which is a 90s film. Yeah, we don't care if we spoil that. And plenty of people at this point should have seen it. If not, they should have watched it before they tuned in. But yeah, let's get talking about Superman. So this is really actually kind of important. As we're talking about Superman, I feel it's only appropriate to acknowledge the passing of an actor who left an indelible mark on cinema throughout his career that spanned over 6 decades. He's going to forever be linked in my mind with one particular character, General Zod. Yeah, Terrence Stamp, who uttered that unforgettable line, "Kneel before Zod." He died at 87 years old today, which is Sunday, August 17th, 2025. His many roles included Billy Budd in 1962, Superman 1978, Superman 2 1980, Legal Eagles 86, Wall Street 87, Young Guns and Alien Nation in 88, The Adventures of Priscilla Queen of the Desert in 94, The Limey in 1999, The Phantom Menace and Bowfinger in 1999, Haunted Mansion 2003, Elektra 2005, Get Smart, Yes Man, and Valkyrie all in 2008, The Adjustment Bureau in 2011, and many more. So his role of Zod, he stayed in character even when he wasn't filming, just so he could keep the intensity needed for when he was being filmed as General Zod. Eric, any particular feelings or remembrance you have of Terrence Stamp?
Terrence Stamp has always been one of those incredibly intense British performers that had this amazing presence on screen. Generally would get cast as a villain role because of his intensity, and because Americans just love casting the Brits as villains in our movies. Loved him as General Zod. I've seen him in so many other things as well. His voice, his presence. But yeah, I mean, granted, one of his roles, which really struck me, was in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, where he completely broke character for me and just oh, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, I'd say he's a pretty timeless actor, and his death is definitely sad. I remember uh, when I first saw Superman 2, I I hated him because he was so good. He was so good at the role. Of course, that back then I didn't look at it as, oh, this is great acting. I looked at it as, I hate this guy. He's evil. He's a villain. He hurt Superman. Now it's like, wow, what a amazing role. Folks, I apologize for the disappearing microphone and the headset and all that. This backdrop is definitely creating issues, but I wanted to keep this backdrop because, it's Superman, and that's what we're here to talk about. So let's get talking about it. Um, so I'm going to just say this, Eric. This film was an absolute delight for me. It harkened back to the Superman I knew and loved as a child, when I was growing up, without it being overtly made for children. I'd say it's approachable by children, but because of the level of violence in it, it's not exactly a children's film. They kept away from actively stupid characters, unlike Lucas did in The Phantom Menace. Uh, it's it's fun. The side characters are great. Um, the plot wise, Superman's already an active superhero, or the strongest metahuman on the planet at the beginning of the film, and he's just lost his first fight. You learn all of this from the very beginning. This is not a spoiler, because he had kind of interceded in a war in the fictional country of Baravia, and uh, the enemy that he loses the fight to is a metahuman from Baravia known as the Hammer of Baravia. I'm not going to go too far into anything beyond this, but there's a nice twist involved with it. It's a relatively basic plot, but I feel like it really drove the story forward. What do you think?
This really, I think, brought us back in terms of superhero stories, where we've been getting into very, very heavy topics with many of the superhero stories lately, not just through DC, but through all of the superheroes, through Marvel and such, where aside from a few of the comedic pieces, things have just been very, very heavy. And I think that's something which James Gunn um, has always had in his wheelhouse. He likes to keep things light enough that the audience smiles while watching this film, um, which I appreciated. I really liked that for lack of a better term, we didn't waste a movie retelling the origin story again.
100% agree.
Because there just seems to feel this need by movie studios to just, oh, well, if we're reintroducing the story and rebooting this movie franchise,
Yeah,
we
how many
have to,
times do we need to see Batman's parents die, Uncle Ben die, you know?
yeah, it's just over and over. They need to spend at least half a movie giving us that origin again and again and again.
Yeah.
Which is something I definitely appreciated in this movie, that you give us a few lines of text at the beginning of the film, which and then just like, hey, this is Superman, his story, who he is, go.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
I
I
feel like the writing was just really good. I actually have a list of some of the takeaways from this, and then I have a couple of cons from it. But if you'll indulge me real quick, I'll throw some of those at you, and you can kind of discuss them real quick with me. I Superman is likable. He's
Yes.
likable, and the focus is much more on his humanity. And I felt like that character has been lost for some time. And I'm gonna pick on. I'm sorry for those who like the Man of Steel, but I'm gonna pick on the recent Man of Steel films for this, as they focus on him being a Kryptonian more. Um, The Snyder Superman pushes away from humanity, whereas the Gunn Superman embraces it. And I don't know if you felt that, but that was kind of important for me because it brought us back to like the Christopher Reeve Superman. And we've got quite a few viewers who watch our show who are Christopher Reeve fans, not only because they love Somewhere in Time, but because they love Superman. Did you get that sense too when you were watching this?
I definitely felt that he was much more in touch with being human, uh, being a part of this world, as opposed to the Snyderverse Superman, where they spent a good half hour, I felt, in, was it Man of Steel, where we're on Krypton and you get this whole destruction of Krypton. Just it went on and on, just
Oh, I agree.
telling us how alien he is. And
I had a hard time even getting through the beginning of Man of Steel. I was just very disinterested in the
mm,
whole Krypton story. I felt like it was unnecessary. Um, I, I prefer not knowing all the details of Krypton. I liked learning about Zod and a little bit of what happened on Krypton without getting
mhm,
all of that massive exposition and just, oh, here we're going to have battle after battle and, we're running all over Krypton and so much stuff is going on. One of the biggest problems I had with Man of Steel was it committed the crime of being absolutely forgettable. It's one of those films that I watched, and I want to say within a week, if you had asked me to tell you everything that happened in the film, I would struggle because I didn't care. I found myself not caring about Superman and not caring about you know the world in which he lived or anything that really happened in the film felt of so little consequence to me that I yeah, it just was forgettable.
mm,
Now, you juxtapose that with this film, I can tell you everything that happened in this film. I can tell you all about the secondary and tertiary characters that were all excellent. The acting was excellent. You were immersed into an existing world where things are already going on. This Superman is already known, and Lex Luthor is already known. Uh, Corin Sweat did such a amazing job of making this character approachable, and it was so very needed for Superman to be approachable again. I mean, I love Henry Cavill as the actor, right? Henry Cavill, the actor, is
yes.
fabulous, but I didn't enjoy his Superman, which is a shame because it was such a wasted opportunity. He has the look and the feel of Superman, but Zack Snyder wasted that. The whole Justice League era of those films is just it's all dark and gloomy and unnecessarily dour. Superman that we watched here 2025 was it's bright and it's colorful and much more reminiscent of like the golden age of comics, which is what I want when I see Superman. How about you? What do you think of that?
Superman in the past, in through the Snyderverse, despite despite showing us, or despite introducing the audience to the idea that the symbol on his chest represents hope, I never felt that from the character.
That's huge.
Whereas this Superman definitely inspired much more hope, inspired much more humanity, inspired much more, just, this is the Superman that I think, this is the Superman hero, as opposed to this is the Superman weapon. This is the
Yeah,
Superman
super
force. This is the
angry God
Superman
man.
power.
Right. Yeah, it's really important though, isn't it? And I don't want to discredit the people who are fans of the Snyder Superman and the
Oh
Snyderverse.
no.
Those films are there. If you enjoy them, they're still going to be there. I know they're disappointed that it didn't get to continue on. For me, I think that's a positive, but it just uh, it needed to go a different direction. DC Films has been kind of in what I consider a downward spiral for a long time. Um, And I liken the Snyder fans to the fans of like the Phantom Menace and the prequels. I don't agree with those people either, right? But it's okay that they like that. It's okay that that's their Star Wars. Uh, they grew up with that.
Yeah.
They think that's what Star Wars is. Me, I think Star Wars is completely different. Star Wars is built off of so many other things that were important to me as a child. Same thing with Superman. Obviously, Christopher Reeve was a big part of that, and finding an actor who can embody a lot of Christopher Reeve's charm, his approachability, and putting it into this film was super important. And I feel like they did really well. You're never going to be Christopher Reeve for me, but I think that they did a really good job with him.
I yeah, I it may just be the choices they made in terms of production for how they the look of Superman, or the look of that they gave. Uh, is it really pronounced corn sweat?
Corin Sweat, I thought,
Corn sweat? Okay. Yeah.
or Corin's Wet. I'm not.
Corn sweat. Yeah.
I've never um, actually listened to the pronunciation of his name. I thought it was Corin's Wet.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. But seeing him in post-production interviews, that man I see on camera in those interviews looks very different to me, presentation wise, than he did on screen as Clark Kent or Superman. And I think he actually looks more Superman out of character than he did in the film. It might just be the way they styled his hair. It might just be the way he dresses.
the
But
costume was a little weird, but it was supposed to be reminiscent of a very specific
yes,
period in
yes.
Superman. Yeah.
I was fine with the costume. I was fine with the Superman suit. That worked for me. Um, Maybe I was thrown off. I mean, okay, it's just for me, they've always played Clark Kent as this blends in with the rest of the world kind of appearance. And as tall as the actor is, actually putting him in a shot with normal people, he doesn't blend in. This is a
Well,
spectacularly tall man.
he plays goofy though, which is what
Yeah.
that takes your eye off of him, even though he's so tall. The
Hmm.
goofy dude who comes in and is wants to argue with Lois about what what he's actually doing as opposed to what she knows he's
Yes.
doing. Whereas if you look at Henry Cavill's Clark Kent, I'm sorry, this dude is just too good looking all the time. There's no way that he's not sticking out. You know, they didn't do enough to make Cavill's Clark Kent dowdy enough to be a character that you overlook. This guy is like a model walking off of a freaking page of a centerfold. Um, I do feel like this Clark was a bit dowdy and sort of goofy, which is what he's kind of supposed to be.
Mm.
Nobody's going to replace Christopher Reeve in this category. I think that even to this day, no actor has ever embodied both parts perfectly like Christopher Reeve did. And you can see it in the scene where he's talking to Lois Lane and he pulls off the glasses and stands up straight, and you
Mhm.
see the transition between the characters. I have not seen that since then. It doesn't mean that these guys didn't do a great job, in their respective parts, but I don't know.
I got
You're gonna
some
have a
of
hard time
that.
with that.
Yeah, I got some of that in this film, honestly. Um, I'm not sure if this is a spoiler because it is in some of the commercials and trailers for the film, where where he's talking to Lois in the apartment, and suddenly it's, oh, you want to do an interview with Superman, and then he shifts, and suddenly he's Superman. He's no longer
Yes, Miss
Clark.
Lane. Yeah, that was good. That was
Yeah,
actually it was a good transition.
it's not as dramatic as Christopher Reeve's shift,
Yeah.
but but it was there.
Yeah, and Gunn had put in a little device to explain why people don't realize it's him. You can watch the
Hmm.
film and you'll see that. I'm not going to say what it is.
Yes.
Um, Speaking of Lois, I loved the casting of Rachel Brosnahan
Hmm.
from Marvelous Miss Maisel. She was a freaking amazing in that series, but she was perfectly cast, and she made the best of her screen time, especially considering how little she was really in the film. I mean, they had her in the film, but she was really kind of, I don't know, kind of there for a lot of it. But I feel like the times where she was allowed to choose scenery, she did. So
I
I
liked
don't.
I definitely liked her. I liked a lot of the supporting cast in this film. I loved seeing the actor who played. I mean, they brought back so many people from movies which I really liked in the past, which may or may not have gotten like the best use of them in these old roles. The man who played Clark's father.
Dude,
Um,
I was gonna say that too. Literally
yeah.
stole the fucking movie in one scene.
Um, yes, he was the priest in Constantine that carved that symbol into his hand to
Mhm.
give John Constantine the clue as to where he needed to go. Um, and the actor who played Mr. Terrific, oh my God.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
Those are huge points that I have listed here as well.
yeah,
Let me agree with you real quick. The actor you're talking about is Pruitt Taylor Vince,
yes.
and when as Clark's father, I'm not going to say the moment, but I'm going to tell you
Hmm.
that there is an important scene, and his line delivery in that is probably the most important scene in the film. And they picked the perfect actor. The line was delivered perfectly. And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sure that is the moment where I was watching the film and I got some dust in my eye
Hmm.
because I was sitting there, doing the subtle, let me wipe this off, hoping nobody notices this. It was
and
fabulous.
and the Kents actually speaking with
An accent,
basically accents from Kansas
Kansas.
or the Kansas-like accent.
I agree.
It
And
gave him that home feel.
and as far as the other thing you're saying, Edie Gathegi and Nathan Fillion as
Mm,
these I call them scene stealers, right?
mm.
They chewed scenery, they chewed their time on camera, and they did such a great job. I've always loved Nathan Fillion.
Of course.
You can put Nathan Fillion in a PSA ad, and I'll be like, every time it comes on, I'll sit there and watch it. Why? Because it's Nathan Fillion, man. He's awesome. If there's a person that I would just love to sit and be able to like chat with, have a drink with, just sit and talk, hang out with, Nathan Fillion, I feel like he would be just that guy. He's that guy. Um,
My love for Nathan Fillion goes all the way back to Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. I think I was one of the few kids watching that show. I watched him through Firefly. I watched him through.
Dr. Horrible sing along blog.
Do you
Have you?
remember? Do you remember a? I think it only lasted 6 episodes. It was on Fox TV called Drive,
No,
and it was
never even heard of it.
oh my God, it's this. It's like a cross between the Cannonball Run and Lost, where these civilians basically get involved in this cross-country race, and the prize is just this unknown, like whatever you want, kind of like anything you want in the world if you win this race, and everybody involved in it has their own reasons for being in this race.
Huh.
And Nathan
So wait,
Fillion was,
this was a TV show?
yes, it was on Fox TV. It
Of course it was on Fox. Let me
it
guess. It got
yeah,
canceled after 6 episodes.
yeah, it maybe lasted 6 episodes,
That sounds like Fox.
and I really liked it, and it never got off the ground, and before it got canceled.
Wow.
And yeah, and I think I'm one of the few people that tries to push for that movie, push for
I
that show.
I think Nathan Fillion for me started with Firefly and then
Hmm.
continued with like Dr. Horrible sing along blog. And just after that, I would actively seek him out. I would watch the videos where he surprises the other actors at conventions and whatnot. The guy is he's just
Yes.
hilarious.
Yeah.
And he has that comedic bone in his body that some people just they're not born with, they don't have it. He just has it. So he's
I
just
think
awesome.
I think some of that is just humility. He doesn't think of himself as a big star. He still thinks of himself as like, this goofy little guy that, you know,
But
got
he can
lucky in
play
his
that guy.
career.
He can play
Yeah.
that guy because he's got the acting chops. So,
Hmm.
God, we're going off on Nathan Fillion right now. Guy Gardner was a great inclusion in this. I loved seeing the other superheroes that existed in the universe. We didn't
Hmm.
just get a Superman film where he exists in a vacuum.
Yes.
DC is a rich comic environment with lots of heroes. You know, Peacemaker with his little cameo in there.
Hmm.
Because if you watch the Peacemaker series, which is also James Gunn, it's actually quite brilliant. James Gunn is a gifted superhero comic storyteller and director. And I know not everybody believes that or feels that way, but I feel that way because he made me care about Guardians of the Galaxy, which before that were completely off my radar, right? He made me care about Peacemaker, who was like a character in what was it? Was that show called the film
Suicide
Suicide
Squad.
Squad?
Hmm.
And he was I hated him in that, right? But in his series, he was fantastic, and I totally understood the character after that point.
Hmm.
Why? Because James Gunn knows how to put you in contact with the parts of the character that matter. And that's why this Superman works. This is why you should go see this film. So if you're sitting on the fence right now, take it from me. This is worth going out and seeing. I don't want to skip over because I don't want to go too long on this. These videos are supposed to be half an hour basically. But there's one other person that really needs comment, and that's Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor.
Absolutely.
I feel like since Gene Hackman, we have not had a really good Lex Luthor, and we finally got one. He was
Well,
phenomenal. Now, I do have a little problem with him. I'll list that in my cons, but obviously you've got an opinion in this, so go ahead.
I I liked Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. I didn't think he was spectacular in the role. I mean, Gene Hackman himself is spectacular, but I didn't think the role was that great. Um, I loved the Lex Luthor that we got in Smallville. That just really worked for me personally. The Smallville TV series. Um, they just worked really well together. The two main actors in that series, and since then I haven't seen great Lex Luthor on screen. Certainly not big screen. Um, you know uh, the is it Eisenberg that they cast for the in the Snyderverse,
Jesse
and
Eisenberg
yeah, I just didn't believe him as Luthor, and I
and Kevin
didn't.
Spacey in Superman Returns.
Yeah, we've got our own issues with Spacey in that role.
That whole
So
film had a lot of issues. It
yeah,
wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't good.
yeah. I did like that. I did like where they went with I did like the film overall. Um, Superman Returns. I really actually did enjoy the film, except for the except for the Lex Luthor part. Honestly, that part I didn't care for. But it never got the chance to really be its own movie. It
Well,
spent the entire time reminding us how good Superman 2 was.
yeah, I felt like it had a lot of continuity errors and things that broke my suspension of disbelief.
Yes.
And for me, I'll forgive a lot of things about a film as long as my suspension of disbelief isn't broken.
Hmm.
And I've had it broken in was it the Star Trek Into Darkness? I had it broken in Superman Returns.
Hmm.
And it's things like all you had to do was pay attention to what you were doing as a film director, and you could have corrected it very easily. And I'll point out one very specific instance. Lois Lane is in a airplane. She's not belted in. She's giving some speech up in front of the plane, and the plane gets knocked out of the sky. It's tumbling, it's falling, it's tumbling, it's falling. Superman catches it, and it's a jarring, jolting thing. The people who were in that plane should have been battered, bruised, broken ribs, bleeding. He sets the thing down on the ground. She walks out like she just got out of the shower, did her hair and makeup, and never once tumbled around a plane, which I knew she was not seatbelted in. And I was so mad that you would skip a detail like that. Why? Is it the actress put it into her contract that she does not want to have disheveled hair and bleed on screen? I mean, come on. That film really upset me on many levels. He gets put to the deepest part of the ocean, but somehow gets just enough sunlight to get past all of the kryptonite around him, and it doesn't make any damn sense. I'm sorry, it weakens him. He should have drowned. He's not superhuman anymore. He's at the bottom of the ocean. Just the pressure and the water alone should have killed him. But it's a freaking fairy tale, so he can survive that. But that sort of like boneheaded incompetency when it comes to filmmaking is what makes films bad. And that is the kind of at least Man of Steel, the character, was who he was, even if I don't agree or like the basics of what the character was. Man of Steel, I still think is a better film than Superman Returns because they didn't make those kind of mistakes. But that's me.
I'm with you on that one. I mean, Lois spontaneously, like, she's got a child. It's Superman's child, but because he wiped her memory at the end of the second film, Lois Lane's pregnancy and child in Superman Returns, when her memory gets wiped by Superman at the end of the second film, apparently they conceived a child together during Superman 2. He vanishes for X number of years.
I don't even remember that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which it sounds stupid. How did he wipe her mind?
There was a kiss at the end of Superman 2 in the original cut, and she spontaneously forgets everything for like the entire duration of the film. She's just sitting
ridiculous.
There, and it's
Superman doesn't have that power.
It's this. Hey, so what's happening in the world? And we're just implied that he somehow wiped her mind of everything, including his identity, including their relationship, including General Zod attacking the world.
Let's get back to this film, because we could go off forever on obviously the cons of that one, but I want to get to the cons of this film. Okay. Very quickly here. These are the things that stood out to me that I didn't care for in this film. It wasn't enough to ruin it, but they were things that personally I would have liked to have seen done differently. One, the story felt rushed at times. It shouldn't have, because they cut out the origin story, right? But I felt like, and this is the third point I have here, but the editing was definitely from the post Michael Bay goldfish attention span, throw as much shit on the screen as you can era. And I know a lot of people like this kind of editing. They're all into these montage sequences that tell you everything without really having to let a scene breathe. But I felt like they did that a lot in this film. I am not a fan of that type of editing. I find it very ADHD and like seizure inducing. I want the film to breathe at points, and it did breathe at points, but I felt like, the rest of the film, like we go rush, 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 breathe, which is important, but there was too much of that rushing around to fit in all of this story. Is it terrible? No, I don't think it totally detracts from it, but not being a fan of that school of cinema was a little bit difficult for me when it came to this film. The other thing that really stuck out for me is Lex Luthor could have been fleshed out a bit more. Megla Maniacal billionaire. Wow. Now see, it's my turn to trip up on a word.
Mm-hmm.
Is very topical now because we have plenty of them in the world. But it's also extremely one-dimensional. And his superb acting distracted from the fact that his motivations are paper thin. Why really he's going to spend all this time going after Superman and doing all this stuff? Okay, I get it, but really, I don't get it. I just felt like he needed a little bit more fleshing out. The justification they gave for why he was willing to spend all this money and go to all this trouble, to me, it just wasn't enough. Did it ruin the movie? Absolutely not. I think the movie stands on its own, and it's a really good film. But these are sort of the things that I felt like if you could have done a little bit more here, I think I would have enjoyed this film even more. Was there any cons to the film for you?
Nothing that particularly sticks out that quote unquote ruins any part of the film for me. I just, I went in for a good ride. I went in for an enjoyable time, and I definitely got that with this movie. I see some of the detractors online and people that, talking about, oh, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. And it's like, okay, it doesn't have to be for everybody. And,
Right.
but I really had a good time with it.
Seeing as you don't have a lot of cons, I think what we need to do is move into our very last segment here, which is let's get popping. Can you hear it? All right. So, Eric, how many pops would you give Superman 2025 James Gunn Superman? How many pops?
Superman for me is a 5-pop movie. I had a great time at it, and I definitely enjoyed it as a cinematic experience. I loved it, on the big screen at the movie theater. Definitely worth it as an admission for me. Yeah.
All right. Very good. Very good. I like that. I'm going to say, before I give you my rating here, I've thoroughly enjoyed this Superman and would recommend it to those who miss the hope that the original Superman films gave viewers. It's not depressing, dark, or dreary like Man of Steel. And Superman, though being an alien from another planet, is truly a member of the human race in this film. As he grew up here, shares the mannerisms, dreams, hopes, and fears of humanity. It was solid all around. It was a total solid all around showing and a promising step in a new direction for DC films, which in all honesty, I have not had a favorable opinion of for some time. It gets 4 pops from me, and that's where we sit. So yeah, I think we both recommend this film. So if you're wondering whether or not you should see the new Superman film, both Eric and I think we wholeheartedly agree that it's worth watching.
Yeah. And they just started streaming it on, I think, on Prime. Because I'm seeing a lot of people. Yeah. I think they wanted to get it out in front of the second season of Peacemaker. So that's why it's all streaming now.
Which is a smart thing to do. I think James Gunn has got his finger on the pulse. I don't think we have much else here. We want to thank you for supporting us as Patreon subscribers. It means the world to us. Basically, this entire podcast, there's so many costs involved in doing this, and they all come out of my pocket directly. The support that we've been getting from our supporters has really helped out in that regard. So thank you. Your continued support means the world to us, and we're happy to make these videos. And I will absolutely figure out how you can get your Patreon gifts. Nobody's messaged me on it, and they've continued their support. This is not something that has been a problem for you guys, at least to my knowledge, because no one said anything. I just realized that this was not happening, and I want to correct it because I appreciate you and we appreciate you. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.